Here are the top stories for today, January 10, 2020. The Labor Department halts the mandatory repatriation for overseas Filipino workers in Iran and Lebanon. The PNP says this year's celebration of the Traslacion of the Black Nazarene was generally peaceful. The Department of Health in Region 8 monitors the possible entry of a mysterious influenza-like virus from China. And taxpayers in Pidig, Ilocos Norte are offered coffee in exchange for paying their dues early. Good day, I'm Bench Bondok. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. We begin tonight with a sigh of relief on the Middle East situation. Overseas Filipino workers in Iran may be able to stay at work and not need to return to the Philippines following the easing of tensions between the United States and Iran. OFWs are still likely to be evacuated to ensure their safety. Janice Cave has our top story.
The Department of Labor and Employment on Thursday said overseas Filipino workers in Iran and Lebanon may no longer be covered by the mandatory repatriation imposed by the government with the downgrading of alert levels in these countries. In a statement, Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III said the alert level in Lebanon has been lowered to level 2 while the alert status in Iran was lifted. However, the ban on fresh deployment of workers stays, as the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration will not be processing any application to these countries for the meantime. Meanwhile, the DOLE chief said the mandatory evacuation for OFWs in Iraq is still in place and a deployment ban is also in effect. Alert Level 4, which orders the mandatory repatriation of Filipino workers in crisis-stricken areas, was raised in Iran and Iraq on Wednesday. This came after Tehran's missile launch against 2 U.S. bases in Iraq as retaliation to Washington's drone strike, which killed top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in Iraq last week. No casualties were reported. U.S. President Donald Trump announced the de-escalation of hostilities following the attack, saying Iran appears to be standing down and that cooperation with Iran is likely even as sanctions are being readied against Tehran. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
In related news, despite the lowering of alert levels, the Interagency Committee tasked to oversee the repatriation of OFWs in the Middle East will constantly monitor the situation between the United States and Iran. This as the body chaired by Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana held its first meeting Thursday. The meeting was convened by Lorenzana to fine-tune and coordinate the repatriation plan for the Filipinos in the Middle East in light of the tensions in Iraq and Iran. DND spokesperson Arsenio Andolong said the prime consideration of the plan is the safety and welfare of Filipinos in Iran, Iraq, and other neighboring countries. Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines has been directed to stand ready to deploy assets and personnel to help Filipinos in the affected countries return home. The government is also considering the use of commercial aircraft and sea vessels due to the potentially large number of evacuees from the Middle East. Shifting gears now, President Rodrigo Duterte on Thursday expressed gratitude to Japan for continually extending assistance to his administration that helped boost the Philippine economy. Duterte acknowledged Tokyo's relentless support when Japanese Foreign Minister Motegi Toshimitsu paid a visit to him at Malacañang Palace. In a press statement, the palace said the president highlighted numerous Japan-financed projects in the Philippines which make Filipinos grateful to the Asian economic powerhouse for its continuing assistance. To date, Japan is the country's top source of official development assistance with $8.64 billion in loans and grants as of September last year. For Motegi, it was a great honor to meet Duterte during his stay in the Philippines, as he pointed out that Philippine-Japanese bilateral relations has entered a golden age since President Duterte's election. Motegi also condoled with Filipinos who were hit by recent typhoons in the central Philippines and the series of powerful earthquakes in Mindanao. Staying with the nation's top office, Malacañang expressed outrage over the alleged killing of former Batangas 2nd District Representative Edgar Mendoza and his aide in Tiaong, Quezon on Thursday. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo described the murder of the two victims as an outrageous act of barbarism. He said the government would bring the perpetrators to justice. For his part, Justice Secretary Minardo Guevara said the National Bureau of Investigation will conduct a separate inquiry into the alleged killing of Mendoza. Guevara said the NBI's forensic experts will be of great help in identifying the victims. Reports showed that the two victims were killed before their bodies were burned inside a Honda Civic that was found near a bridge in Barangay San Francisco. Tiaong Police Chief Police Major Lawrence Panganiban said the family of Mendoza confirmed that the vehicle is owned by the former lawmaker. Still to come, the PNP says this year's celebration of the Traslacion of the Black Nazarene was generally peaceful. And the Department of Health in Region 8 monitors the possible entry of a mysterious influenza-like virus from China. These stories are next. Stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Ano ba ang universal healthcare?
Ito ay isang reforma ng healthcare system na mapapakinabangan na ng lahat ng Pilipino. Mula Apari hanggang Tawi-Tawi.
Everybody? Lahat kamo?
Yup, ikaw at si Mrs. Pati bagets.
Kami?
Bawat Pilipino, bata man o matanda. Hindi kasama ang chicken. Sorry! Pero kasama kahit mukhang chicken.
Look, paano kapag walang health card?
Pwede na, basta't para sa kalusugan.
Yun! Paano kung na-aksidente?
Sakop ang treatment at rehab. Makakatulong ang UHC sa gastos ng pagpapagamot.
Kasama ba pati check-up?
Mas mainam ang preventive health kesa huli na ang lahat.
Yes!
Mahalagang nauunawaan natin ang UHC. Kailangan namin ang inyong mga tanong at komento. Magtanong at makibahagi para makinabang sa mga pagbabagong dala ng Universal Healthcare. Alamin mo, kasama ka dito.
The Philippine National Police says this year's Traslacion of the Black Nazarene was generally peaceful and orderly. The image of the Black Nazarene marched for 16 hours from the Quirino Grandstand to the Quiapo Church on Thursday, January 9, concluding the biggest religious procession in the Philippines. This is so far the fastest procession in recent years. PNP spokesperson Brigadier General Bernard Banac said no major untoward incident happened other than the 246 injuries reported among devotees and authorities. The PNP estimates 610,000 devotees participated in Metro Manila, while over 366,000 had similar celebrations in the provinces. Meanwhile, PNP officer in charge, Lieutenant General Archie Gamboa, is leaving to the National Capital Region Police Office the investigation into the alleged snatching of a reporter's cell phone by a police official during the Traslacion. GMA News reporter June Veneracion claims his cell phone was snatched while he was recording an incident between police and devotees. Veneracion said his cell phone was returned, but the official, who was later identified as SPD Director Brigadier General Nolasco Bathan, allegedly attempted to delete the video. Bathan has apologized for the incident. The National Anti-Poverty Commission on Thursday backed the call to ban the deployment of domestic workers to Kuwait until preventive measures have been adopted by the Philippine and Kuwaiti governments. On January 3, the government announced anew the ban on the deployment of newly hired household service workers to Kuwait. In a statement, NAPSI Formal and Migrant Workers Representative Edwin Bustillos said the move will guarantee the promotion and protection of domestic workers' rights and welfare. The call came after two OFWs in Kuwait, Jenaline Villavende and Constancia Dayag, were killed by their employers last year. On May 11, 2018, the gruesome death of Joanna de Mafelis led to a diplomatic crisis between the Philippines and Kuwait, and an agreement on the employment of domestic workers was signed by the two countries. The Department of Foreign Affairs has commissioned a top-notch criminal lawyer to handle Villavende's case against her employer, who is currently detained in Kuwait. On to some business headlines. The passage and signing of the Philippines' 2020 national budget can support the country to post a strong growth this year, which Moody's Investor Service forecasts to be around 6.2%. The debt raters said the country's 4.1 trillion peso national budget this year, which was signed by President Rodrigo Duterte on Monday, is 12% higher than last year's 3.7 trillion peso national budget. Moody's expects this year's national budget, along with the extension of the validity of the 2019 budget for infrastructure program, to support fiscal expansion and domestic growth. It said it expects the Philippines' real gross domestic product growth will accelerate to 6.2% this year from 5.8% in 2019. The government's 2019 GDP target is between 6 to 6.5% and 6.5 to 7.5% from 2020 to 2022. Health officials in the provinces are on the lookout for the possible entry of influenza-like illnesses following reports of a mysterious illness allegedly spreading in China. Our Ruth Abigita Carlos has more details.
The Department of Health in Eastern Visayas is closely monitoring influenza-like illnesses amid concern on a mysterious pneumonia-causing virus in China. Roderick Boyd Cerro, Chief of the DOH Regional Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit, said surveillance officers in hospitals have been alerted to watch for incidences of influenza so they could be properly attended to. On January 5, the World Health Organization confirmed 44 pneumonia cases of unknown causes in Wuhan City, Hubei Province of China. In response, the DOH has alerted the Health Department's Bureau of Quarantine to closely watch all sea and airports for travelers manifesting fever or signs of respiratory infection. Secretary Francisco Duque urged the public, especially those with history of travel from China, to seek immediate medical check-up if experiencing flu-like symptoms. Meanwhile, the Bureau of Quarantine in Central Visayas assured the public it is on heightened surveillance to prevent the mysterious disease discovered in China from entering Cebu. Mactan Airport receives at least 10 direct flights from mainland China every day, excluding the daily flights from Macau and Hong Kong. The new Panglao Bohol International Airport has one daily direct flight from China. To date, Mactan Airport has 2 static thermal imaging cameras and 3 handheld thermal scanners at the International Arrival Terminal. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Ruth Abigita Carlos.
More stories from the newsroom. The Security and Exchange Commission announces the filing of criminal charges against officers and promoters of alleged scamming group Kappa. And taxpayers in Pidig, Ilocos Norte are offered coffee in exchange for paying their dues early. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Si Mr. Isidoro Morano, sa pong barangay captain, sa member sa Links Farm, hindi po sa barangay Mayon, Daraga Albay. Last May po, 2018, ang Department of Agrarian Reform nagkondukta po din sa programa, ng programa po yan, Links Farm. Nag-intra po ako din sa Links Farm, tapos sa ko, pero gusto ko po i-share na itong mga parauma na medyo babapuan silang mga knowledge kung saan ang kaaraman, manong sa tamang pagtanom, tamang pagdinegosyo, manong sa ilang mga produkto. Kaya gusto kong matabangan sila na mayangat man nila sa ilang buhay. Pero sa primero, so mga sa kuyang mga member, so iba, medyo nagluya sa buo, medyo ababaon po ang presyo kan niyog, tapos ang kupra. Kaya nasasakitan po ang mga paraoma, lalong-lalo na sa labor na sa pagkupra. Minsan, di ito na po ang nakukuha kan mga farmers managod sa pagkupra tapos sa pagbabakal community. Sudar, nagtabang po sa muya, ang links farm, nagkailo kami ng pag-market, napigdara na po sa sarong planta na nag-process ninyo for export sa Lidong, Santo Domingo, Albay, sa Primex. Kaya nagmahon po ang samuyang cooperative na sarigan na pigtabangan kami. Kung kaya, sa ngunyan, dakul po ang nag-irintra na mag-member sa Links Farm na sa mga parauma na gusto nilang makaupod na matawan silang maray na benepisyo ano din sa sandang mga produkto. Lalong-lalo na po ang nyo. Kaya nagmahon po kami ang Department of Agrarian Reform under kaining programa sa Links Farm na sana hindi ini po ipadagos ining programa nita talagang magayon at programa lalong-lalo na po sa mga parauma na matabangan sila na magtanong sila, dapat tindang madaragan sa mga produkto sa tamang presyo. Kaya salamat sa Links Farm, salamat sa DAR, sa sandang programa na ipadagos po ining Links Farm. Salamat sa inyo.
The Securities and Exchange Commission reports it has filed criminal charges against the officers and promoters of Kappa Community Ministry International. The Department of Justice accused the scamming group of engaging in the selling or offering for sale or distribution of securities to the general public without a registration statement from the SEC. Upon finding sufficient probable cause, the concerned judges shall order the arrest of the indicted officers and promoters of Kappa. The Commission found Kappa to have enticed the public to invest at least 10,000 pesos in exchange for a 30% monthly return for life without having to do anything other than invest and wait for the payout. The SEC also found Kappa to have employed a Ponzi scheme which offers impossibly high returns and pays investors using the money contributed by later investors. Meanwhile, the SEC reiterated its advice for the public to exercise more caution as certain supporters and promoters of Kappa peddle false information about the group's supposed revival. Visiting all government-owned tourism facilities in Ilocos Norte may cost a little higher this year to cover operational expenses and maintenance. The Provincial Tourism Office said the proposed entrance fees will range from 30 to 50 pesos per head from the usual 15 to 40 pesos per head. For big tour groups visiting the province, the Provincial Tourism Office offers incentives such as discounts of up to a maximum of 20%. Meanwhile, residents of Ilocos Norte are given low rates of only 5 pesos for entrance fees to encourage them to visit the province's museums and other tourism destinations. The proposed increase will be evaluated pending the approval of the 2019 Revised Revenue Code of Ilocos Norte. Families plotting out their vacations this year are invited to the 27th PTAA Travel Tour Expo 2020. The expo, sponsored by the Philippine Travel Agencies Association, will be held at the SMX Convention Center Mall of Asia, Pasay City from February 7 to 9. PTAA President Richie Tuanyo said the expo aims to encourage more Filipinos to travel with their families. He said 2020 is the best year to travel given the long weekends, along with the availability of cheaper international travel. There will be over 1,000 booths and up to 70% discounts on cruise lines, hotels, theme parks, and airline fares. Meanwhile, corporate travelers will also participate in the 5th International Travel Trade Expo 2020, with some 30 participating countries expected to showcase travel and tour deals for the business-to-business category of the expo. This event is exclusive to registered trade buyers and sellers, happening from February 2 to 4. And before we go, here's some motivation to pay your taxes early. The local government of Pidig, Ilocos Norte is enticing people to pay their taxes early by offering cups of coffee. A free cup of brewed coffee is available for taxpayers waiting in line to pay their dues early at the Municipal Treasurer's Office of Pidig, home to the largest coffee plantation in the province. The free coffee was suggested by Town Mayor Eduardo Guillen to offer taxpayers convenience while waiting for their turn to finish their transactions. Guillen said the free coffee is also their way of promoting their very own coffee product. PDIG has played host to the country's first and largest national convergence program for coffee since 2014. Through a public-private partnership program, the municipal government is now selling its coffee produce in various trade fairs and exhibits, as well as in some commercial establishments. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. The Labor Department halts the mandatory repatriation for overseas Filipino workers in Iran and Lebanon. The PNP says this year's celebration of the Traslacion of the Black Nazarene was generally peaceful. The Department of Health in Region 8 monitors the possible entry of a mysterious influenza-like virus from China. And taxpayers in PDIG, Ilocos Norte are offered coffee in exchange for paying their dues early. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Bench Bondok. Have a great weekend.